Alright, shalom, shalom. This is brother Nasai. Coming back at you another video to expand Prophet Yabashim Shai. As always, Lord, when I pray these lessons be edifying to the Lord's elect. Prior to getting started, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Yakum on the four winds, pushing truth and sincerity and diligence. Alright, shalom, shalom. Alright, basically just wanted to do a tribe of Zebulon overview. Won't be too long and drawn out. Just basically want to hit on the main points, right, in prophecy of and spiritual indicators of who they are and where they will be centralized, right, and located in these latter days, right, where they will predominantly be, right, and ultimately what will befall them, man, right. So we're gonna read Genesis the 49th chapter, right, not the whole chapter. We're just gonna get straight to the tribe of Zebulon, right, as you can see, right, Israel's prophecy concerning his sons, which is talking about Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel after wrestling with the angel, right? So it says his prophecy meaning what? To say before, right? So this is given the prophecy of what would happen to his sons. Where would they be located, right? If you can receive it through the Spirit, right? So let's jump down. Matter of fact, let's read one. Let's start with one. Right, so it says, and Jacob called his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you. You see, so it's the prophecy of what will befall his sons, right? Shall befall you in the last days. So through these prophecies, we're able to pinpoint who each tribe is through the Spirit. You see, so it says, so what will befall you in the last days, all right, showing us where would they be located, so on and so forth, because we know, according to the scriptures, is that we were scattered as a people, right? Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. This is Ezekiel 12. We can get 15, right? So it says, Ezekiel 12 and 15, it says, and they shall know that I am Yahweh Bashim Shai, when I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries. See, so we were scattered amongst the nations as a people, right? We're everywhere, man, but predominantly most of us are, here in North and Central America, right? Which you also still have Israelites, right, in other parts of the world, right? But right now we're focused on who? The tribe of Zebulon, right, which means dwelling, right? In the Hebrew is Zebulon, right? So which would be the Guatemalans to the Panamanians, right? If you can receive it, right? So it's Genesis 49 and verse 13. So Zebulon, right, shall dwell. That's a spirit, right? Because Zebulon meaning dwelling. Let's get it. It says that he shall dwell. Let's get Zebulon. It says Zebulon. It says exalted. It says the 10th of the sons, descendants of Zebulon, habitations, Zebulon, also his territorial tribe, Zebulon, right? So it says Zebulon shall dwell. So where would Zebulon dwell? At the haven of the seas, right? So when we go into the haven of the seas, we understand that. Go ahead, you can pass. We understand that Zebulon will dwell where? Let's see. Damn, why separated? Kind of separated. Let me see if I want to get let's get haven. Alright. It should go into like a seashore, right? So haven is shore or seashore, coast, right? So they would dwell on the coast, right? So it's basically giving you a spiritual indicator, right, of that the tribe of Zebulon, right, they will be predominantly inhabited on what on the coast or shore, right? And when you look at the prophecy of where they will be, what will happen to them, right, fleeing from the Assyrian captivity, how they would migrate here, right, to North and Central America, where it says where neither mankind had dwelt, right, and various different things of prophecy, not prophecy, Salakia, different things in history, right, because when we read these things, we see that uh, Christopher Columbus and all these different people, how they came here and how they knew where the tribes were, right? And how he came with Hebrew interpreters, so on and so forth. You can read these different things and lost tribes and promised lands. Like even the customs, right, that the tribes will keep, right? You can you can do a little research on these different things, right? But them being on the seashore or coast or shore, right, it's a spiritual indicator of them dwelling where you got Guatemala, right, Belize, El Salvador. I think I got a map right here, right? So you got like Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, Honduras, right? So this is all on the seashore. This is all on the coast. You see. So that's a spiritual indicator where our people will be. Basically, Central America, which divides North America from South America, man. Right. So let's go back to the verse. So it says, Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of seas, haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships. You see, it says, and his border shall be unto Zidon. You see, so it says that what he shall be as what? As for what? As a haven of ships. Now, another spiritual indicator too, right, to show you that this is speaking in future tense, not ancient tense. When you pull up an ancient map and we look up Zebulon, Zebulon is right here, right between Naphtali, Issachar, and Asher, and Manasseh is right here. It's not on the seashore. It's landlocked. You see, Zebulon is landlocked here, man. You see. So when we go to the scriptures, right, it said that what he would be for what? Was it a haven of ships, man? Right? Now that way of him being of a haven of ships, when you go back to this ancient map and we go into what? The Panama Canal, right? That's what that's talking about. Right? So it was prophesied, right? Let's pull up the Wikipedia. It was prophesied long before, right? And that shows the power. And Yahweh Shemel Shai, man, because the Lord had it all planned out. Right, so it's going to this. This is the Panama Canal. When you read about the Panama Canal, you learn that this is one of the not one of, but it's one of, right? So it's one of the world's most important trade assets, right? And we're gonna read up a little bit about it, right? So it says the Panama Canal. It says is a artificial 82 kilometer, 51-mile waterway in Panama that connects the Caribbean Sea with the Pacific Ocean. It cuts across the narrowest point of the isthmus of the Panama. So when you look up an isthmus, it goes into what a land that's between two bodies of water.
You know that land?
No, I don't know.
Great Jeep?
No.
They drive up on a Great Jeep, a white man?
I don't know.
Beard?
I don't know.
That's who it is. Then.
All right. So it says, it cuts across the nearest point of an isthmus of Panama. Right, so it's showing you the what an isthmus looks like. Right, you can see it right there, the isthmus of Panama, right there. So when you look on the map, where the map at, it'll be in this area right here. Right, that's what it was just showing us. Right, let's go back to it. Was it? Right, the Isthmus of Panama, right? Boom. So you see that, right? Boom. All right. So isthmus, right? So water on each side of a piece of land, right? So it says, and is a conduit for a maritime trade between the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. It says locks at each end, lifts ships up to Guton Lake. It says an artificial freshwater lake, 26 meters, 85 feet above the sea level, created by damming the Charles River and the lake, whatever it is. It says to reduce the amount of excavation work required for the canal, locks then lowers the ships. At the other end, it says the average 200 milliliter. It says a fresh water is used in a single passing of a ship. It says the canal is threatened by low water levels during droughts. The Panama Canal shortcut greatly reduces the time for ships to travel. You see, so it greatly reduces the time for ships to travel, and this is why it's known for one of the trading assets, important trade assets to the world. So it says, this is where it runs to. It says the Panama Canal shortcut greatly reduces the time for ships to travel between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, and enabling them to avoid the lengthy hazardous route around the southernmost tip of South America via the Drake Passage, the Strait of Magellan. It says Beagle Channel. Its construction was one of the largest and most difficult engineered projects to ever undertake. Since the inauguration of August 15, 1914, the canal has succeeded in shortening maritime communication in time and distance. God dang. I believe that's pretty much it. Oh, all right. It says maritime and economic transportation by providing a short and relative inexpensive transit route between the two oceans. It says devisively influencing global trade patterns, right, Con? It says boosting economic growth and developing countries, as well as providing the basic impulse for economic expansion in many routes regions of the world, right? So it's something you can look into, right? Which is talking about the Panama Canal, right? When we read that, right, shows the how spiritual it is, right? Because the Lord had spoken this, right? This was spoken, right? This was prophesied way before the Panama Canal was ever created, right? And like we say, you could pull up an ancient map of Zebulon, right, of the 12 tribes of Israel, land that we had inhabited, right, and you can see that Zebulon is landlocked, so there's no way for this prophecy to fit the ancient time, right? It will be speaking of future tense by even reading, even in the subtitles when we read the verse 1, it told you these are the things that will befall his sons, right? And through this, we can read these things in pinpoint, right? We'll probably do Issachar next, Lord willing, right? And we can pinpoint who these tribes are and where they will be centralized, right? In today's time, right? Even when you look into history, further into history, right, of these lands, you had what, like something called, like, you had the Mayan civilization, right? And you can read about the Mayan civilization. It tells you how they were in that land also. Let's see. See, check this out. So it says Mayan civilization. Not this. This is not what I'm looking for. We're gonna read the Wikipedia. Okay, we're gonna check this Wikipedia out, right? So it says the Mayan civilization was a Mesoamerican civilization that existed for antiquity to the early modern period. It says is known by its ancient temples and glyphs. It says the Mayan script is the most sophisticated and highly developed writing system, and it says in the pre-Columbian Americans. The civilization is also noted for its art, architecture, mathematics, calendar, astronomical system. The Mayan civilization developed the Maya region. So when you look up the Maya region, right here, we can even see right here the areas, right? Check it out. So it says an area today comprises southeastern Mexico, all the Guatemalan and Belize, and the western portions of Honduras, El Salvador, right? So this is all of the areas that we looked up, right, that we talked about, right? The Yucatan Peninsula, it says in the Guatemalan highlands, right? And brothers can, look into this and check it out. But ultimately, before Mayans, they were Israelites, right? Their tribe was Zebulon. And you can also read more about their customs, like we said earlier, right? And see how it goes back to them being Israel, right? Israelites, right? You can read 2 Ezra the 13th chapter to show how they migrated here, right? Ultimately, this is all through the Spirit, if you can receive it, to show you who they are, right? Even, I wish I had the picture, I could put it up, but I even looked it up on ChatGPT, right? And it was pulling from history and facts and historical facts, and it basically was saying how, right, the people from South America, right, the Northern Kingdom, right, Central America, right, how they're basically their roots go back to Israelites. You see, and it's different ancient artifacts that you can look into, right, to show you who they are, right. But ultimately, this is all through the Spirit, right, of Yahweh Shemel Shai, right, to have that Panama Canal, which ultimately, when you go into that Panama Canal, you can look into that. It was like 25,000, right, plus people died building that, man. So it's a lot of history, a lot of things that you can look into, right, to talk through the spirit of who these tribes are, and we're reading it through Genesis, the 49th chapter, right? So, like we say, man, you can look into this. Even the Mayan civilization, you can look into good information. You know, like I said earlier, you can read. I got the PDF. I should have pulled it up. I wish I'd have had it prepared. I'd have pulled it up. I'll pull it up in the next video with Issachar, right, Lord willing, right? But what the book is, the Lost Tribes of Promised Lands, right? You can see how Columbus came here with Hebrew interpreters and things of that nature, right? And he knew from, they knew from reading the scriptures, right? That, the tribes traveled to this side of the world, and where to come, and how they get in touch with him, so this is the history, and this is through the spirit right here through Genesis, the 49th chapter, right, from our apostle elders of Great Millstone, who do rule well and teach well, that we learned this from, that we're able to pinpoint who the tribes are, right? And if God's got a problem with it, not able to understand it, you break it down, right? Because you got a lot of guys like to say a lot of things, but this is indeed the tribe of Zebulon, right? Which is the Guatemalans to the Panamanians, right? Who deals with the lands of Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, and Honduras, basically Central America, which divides North America from South America, right? We went into the Panama Canal, another spiritual indicator, right? These are all spiritual indicators if you can receive it. Israel's prophecy concerning his sons, right, and what will befall him in the latter days. So through this prophecy, right, we can go through each tribe, right, and pinpoint who they are and where they will be and where they will be centralized in the latter days. So Lord willing, I pray this lesson was edifying to the Lord's elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who really teach well. And peace and salutation to Akamon the four winds, pushing truth and sincerity and diligence. Till next time, shalom.